Thank you, Professor Larissa. I would like to tell you that Tagore's relationship with Ireland was more or less a continuous thing. It started much before he actually came to Ireland. In his ancestral house in Calcutta, their house is known as Jorashako. The locality is known as Jorashako. In the Jorashako building, he came across a copy of Thomas More's Irish Melodies, and he used to wonder because he didn't hear the songs, he only saw it in print. So he used to wonder how these songs might sound if sung in tune. Then he came to England when he was 17, and I'll be dealing with he used to stay at in England, in London, with a family of a doctor called Dr. Scott. And Dr. Scott had actually he had four daughters, of whom two younger ones were near Tagore's age. And they struck a very familiar note amongst themselves, so that he could learn the Irish melodies and Scottish ballads from them. And he would also read out English literature with them. So that is a part of, that's a subject of my presentation in the next half. So I would say that the relationship with, the connection with Ireland had started much before he had actually come to Ireland. So that was one phase, and then the next phase, I would say, which Professor Larisi had pointed out, is the phase when Tagore came to England before his publication of the English version of the Gitanjali. That was in 1912. Actually, what happened, Tagore did not know Yeats personally. He only was, I think he was acquainted with his poetry, but he never met Yeats before 1912. It was William Rothenstein, the English painter, who had introduced Tagore to Yeats. In fact, what happened is, Rabindranath, after reaching London, called Rothenstein, because he did not know very many people at that time in London. And it was Rothenstein who had arranged for Tagore a house in the Hampstead, where he lived. Now, one evening, Tagore showed him, to Rothenstein, his notebook containing his own translations of his poems. Rothenstein found them still more remarkable than the story he read in the Modern Review. In fact, Rothenstein had first read a story which was published in Modern Review in Calcutta. He was visiting Tagore's house without knowing that Rabindranath was such a great man. He used to meet Rabindranath's nephew, Abanindranath, who was a painter. So obviously Rothenstein, being a painter, he was more interested to interact with Abanindranath and Abanindranath, the two painters in the Tagore family. And Rabindranath was their uncle, and he writes that when I went to Jorashako, I was attracted each time by their uncle, dressed in a white dhoti and chadar. Dhoti is the dress that I'm wearing now. Dhoti and chadar, who sat silently listening as we talked. That this uncle was one of the remarkable men of his time, no one gave me a hint. I happened in the Modern Review upon a translation of a story signed Rabindranath Tagore, which charmed me. First impression of Rabindranath, but then after Rabindranath came to England, as I told you, that Rothenstein became a very close friend of Rabindranath, who had arranged all the logistics of Rabindranath staying here. And then when he read the notebook which contained Rabindranath's translations, he said that these are still more remarkable than the story that he read in the Modern Review. Now, he immediately sent this translation, this notebook, to Yeats. And that was the beginning of the relationship of Yeats with Tagore. Now, Yeats made his literary debut, as you all know, probably in 1885 when he published his first poem in the Dublin University Review. He lived through an extremely harsh and turbulent period in Irish history. He was witness to the Easter Rising of 1916, about which he lamented later. All changed utterly. A terrible beauty is born. He also saw the fall of Parno, the Ireland's independence from Britain in 1922. And interestingly, the very same year, Yeats became the senator in the Irish Free State. Now, after a dinner at Trocadero restaurant in London on July 1912, Yeats read Tagore's English poems to a select audience, who immediately and unanimously appreciated the lyrics. Soon Rothenstein, Yeats, Thomas Sturge Moore brought out a private edition of the English Gitanjali, followed by the celebrated Macmillan edition, which sold several hundred copies well before the Nobel Prize was awarded. Now, this introduction was written by Yeats. I'm quoting one line from Yeats's introduction. I have carried the manuscript of these translations about with me for days, reading it in railway trains or on top of omnibuses and in restaurants, and I have often had to close it lest some stranger see how much it moved me. Now, I would like to give you a small example of the kind of poetry that was there in that notebook. I'm sure most of you have read Gitanjali, but then just for the context, let me read out one poem. This is, Art thou abroad on this stormy night, on thy journey of love, my friend? The sky groans like one in despair. I have no sleep tonight. Ever and again I open my door and look out on the darkness, my friend. I can see nothing before me. I wonder, where lies thy path? By what dim shore of the ink-black river? By what far edge of the frowning forest? Through what mazy depth of gloom art thou treading thy course to come to me, my friend? Let me just give you the Bengali version of this English poem. It's actually a song, as you might know that Gitanjali means song offerings. And many of I would say most of the poems are actually songs, lyrics. Now the Bengali of this song is Aji jhore rate tomar আজি ঝড়ের রাতে তোমার অভিসার পরাণ সখা বন্ধু হে আমার আকাশ কাঁদে হতাশ Now, Tagore and Yeats, whose friendship lasted over 37 years, were mutually influenced by each other. To Yeats, Tagore, the mystic of the East, symbolized the wisdom and the dignity of the East and justified the faith that he had placed in the strength and vitality of Asian philosophy. For Tagore, Yeats was a vibrant symbol of the creative energy of the West. Having read the translations, Yeats went to write in the introduction of Gitanjali that his volume has stirred my blood as nothing has for many years. These lyrics display in their thought a world I have dreamt of all my life long. Was not a continual warfare, we would not have when broader than his relationship with Yeats, because as Professor Larisi had pointed out quite correctly that he actually identified his political position with Ireland, being a subject of a colonial country, as well as a post-colonial figure.